Hey guys, how's it going? I am Dankonia and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. Yes, we have had Stage 3, Week 3, and it's all getting rather interesting in terms of teams at the top. Not so much at the bottom, it's a bit boring, let's be honest. Right, let's start off with our results, shall we? We started off this week with the Battle of LA. The Gladiators taking on Valiant. Valiant on an absolute storm right now. To be quite honest with you, haven't lost a game. They are looking very, very good, but we have to remember what teams they play. They are yet to come up against Excelsior, yet to come up against Spitfire. Yes, they did beat Seoul, but Seoul aren't looking that good at the moment anyway. They do beat the Gladiators 3-2 though, and I hope you can't hear the fan in the background, because it's too hot in the UK right now. Something I meant to say at the start of the video. Valiant beat the Gladiators 3-2, really good game, really close game. Gladiators looking decent, but not quite good enough right now. They're not quite as good as they were. Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel. If you want to get into the playoffs, you have to beat people like the San Francisco Shock. You can't get 4-0'd by San Francisco Shock, and that's exactly what happened. Now, again, the curious case of Dallas Fuel. On the turnaround at the start of this stage, getting some decent results, even though they're not wins, let's say. And then we decide, hey, we're going to kick Kai and Rascal out. You were on the turnaround and you decide to do that, and this week proves that may have been a bad decision. Rascal, they were quoting communication issues? He's Korean, dudes. He came from Spitfire. He doesn't really know English that well. And you kick him for bad communication. Right. Cool. Right. That's really sensible. One other thing that I have seen, and I got this off of XQC stream, apparently Rascal was not very happy about the introduction of OGE. They had no time to incorporate with him. And obviously OGE is an account booster. He was banned for the first 3 games for account boosting. That is an absolute no-no in Korea. That's frowned upon pretty heavily. So, yeah. Rascal is now out of the Dallas Fuel. Kai is out. That's been called for a long time, but considering as Dallas Fuel were on the turnaround, let's be honest, was it the best time? No, perhaps not. Shanghai Dragons taking on the Seoul Dynasty. No surprises that Seoul win this. It's 3-1, so Shanghai take a map, but... Oh, Shanghai. There's a big game later on for Shanghai that we'll talk about in a minute. Houston Outlaws taking on the Florida Mayhem, no surprises here. 3-1 to the Outlaws. Mayhem still that tier below the middle pack. Boston Uprising taking on the London Spitfire. Boston unbeaten. London on a downturn. Quite massively right now. They had an atrocious week too. And it continues with them losing 3-2 to Boston. They keep taking games to 5 maps and losing on Oasis. What a surprise they lose on Oasis. More of that later on. Philadelphia Fusion. Your Stage 1 finalists. Your Stage 2 finalists. Taking on your Excel. Stage 2 winners. Rematch of the playoff final from last stage. And it goes the same way. It goes in a reverse sweep for Excelsior. I believe it was a reverse sweep. I hope I didn't say that wrong. Because I think Excel they've had a weird week. Fusion win Anubis and Nimbani, and then Excel reverse sweep Fusion. Fusion lose 3-2. Again, it's iffy. And this has a knock-on effect to Fusion's next match, which was afterwards. Not directly afterwards, it was the next day, but it was the next match. They were taking on the San Francisco Shock, and Fusion looked lethargic. They looked like they had a bit of a hangover from that Excelsior match, and they lose 3-1 to San Francisco. That's a bad result for Fusion. There's no beating around the bush for that one. That's a bad result for Fusion. And we'll move on. Florida Mayhem taking on the Shanghai Dragons. I told you this is a big game. This is the game Shanghai have to win if they're going to win a game. They lose it 3-1. Still no wins on the board for Shanghai. And looking at it, I really don't think there's going to be. At this stage, I think it's just... RIP, to be quite honest. Boston Uprising in action again against Seoul Dynasty. Seoul Dynasty on a bit of a downturn. Boston on an absolute rising. Uprising. I tried to be clever there, that's not. Boston on the up. Beating Seoul 2-1. Boston are still unbeaten. They're the only team to be unbeaten in Stage 3 right now. Can anyone dethrone Boston? Who would have thought? After all the Dreamcast trouble, Boston are on top of the league in Stage 3. Not the overall standings, but Stage 3 standings. The overall standings are also very interesting. New York Excelsior. No, wrong match. London Spitfire taking on the Los Angeles Valiant. London go 2-0 up. Then they lose the next two maps. 2-2, it goes to Oasis. What were we all thinking? Coming into this match, London Spitfire were 1 win and 8 losses on Oasis. It is by far Spitfire's worst map. They beat Valiant on Oasis and beat Valiant 3-2. Massive result for Spitfire. Massive result. They needed something. Birdring has a wrist injury. This is possibly what's been affecting him for this stage. And Hureg came in. Hureg had a decent game. Probably one of the best games I've seen him play. And this stands to reason that Valiant have not played the best teams in the league yet. They play Excelsior very soon. That'll be a big teller to see whether this was a flash in the pan from Valiant because of their fixture schedule. Excelsior taking on the Gladiators. Gladiators off the back of a 3-2 loss to Valiant. They get another 3-2 loss and get reverse swept by Excelsior. Yes, Excelsior have had to perform 2 reverse sweeps this week. Imagine if it had just been slightly different. Excelsior would have 3 losses right now. People are starting to catch up to the Korean teams. London have learnt this the hard way. Excelsior are a bit different. They're a bit more clear-cut in terms of being ahead of the pack. Excelsior have nigh on guaranteed their season playoffs. Houston was the last game, taking on Dallas Fuel, the Battle of Texas. 3-0 to Houston. Drawing the first map on Volskaya. Again, the decision to mess around with the Fuel roster after you started getting some decent results is just baffling. I can't explain it. I really can't. Bizarre, but hey, we'll have to run with it, I guess. Moving on to the standings. Our Stage 3 standings are... Boston remain the only unbeaten team in that number 1 spot, 6-0 with a +9 differential. Valiant managed to hold on to their second spot right now, and that 5-1 record equal with the Excelsior on 5-1, sorry, in that third spot. But Valiant have a better differential due to their massive 4-0 wins at the start of the stage. This is a bit of a surprising one. In 4th, we have San Francisco. They were meant to be the breakout team of Stage 3 with the introduction of Super and Sinatra, and it appears they have really improved. Los Angeles Gladiators just outside on that 3-3 record. In 5th, San Francisco on the 4-2 record. The 3-3 record is shared by 3 other teams, Seoul Dynasty, Philadelphia Fusion, and the Houston Outlaws, all with a very good chance of getting into those playoffs if they can get wins, or San Francisco drop maps, or drop matches. Then, just behind that 8th space, we have a 2-4 record for the London Spitfire. Is the Valiant match going to turn around the Spitfire's fortunes? I think the playoffs are out of reach for Stage 3, to be quite honest with you. Unless there's some upsets. I mean, if Shock lose 2 matches, then you need Gladiators, Dynasty, Fusion, and Outlaws all to lose a match. It's possible, considering there are 4 playoff places this stage. Remember that. We have Dallas Fuel in 10th with a 1-5 record, Florida Mayhem in 11th with a 1-5 record, and of course, in 12th, we have the Shanghai Dragons, still winless. In the overall standings, this is where it changes. Not for New York. New York are still on top, by a very, very big margin. But that second place has been taken by the Boston Uprising. Boston are having such a big stage right now. They have nigh on kind of They're almost certain to get into the playoffs, let's be honest. They're not going to drop a big stage, I wouldn't have thought. Not the way they are now. I don't see any, unless an injury. Unless there's an injury to like Gamsu, I don't see Boston dropping a massive amount of matches. So I think Boston are pretty much there. Excelsior are almost mathematically guaranteed. Think about it. There's 10 games in a stage. London Spitfire are up into 3rd after being down in 4th or 5th, I can't remember last time. After that win from the Valiant. Solar in 4th, Valiant 5th, Fusion 6th, Houston 7th. All very, very bunched up. All within 1 or 2 wins of each other. It could easily, by the end of next week, Spitfire could easily be 7th. Easily. Gladiators are in 8th with a bit of a gap to that 13-13 record. Houston in that 15-11 record, so Gladiators have got a bit of work to do. Shock have got double figures in wins now with 10-16 record. Then you have the bottom 3. Shock are starting to open up a gap between them and Fuel. Fuel in 10th with a 6-20 record. Mayhem in 11th with a 5-21 record. And of course, in 12th, we have the Shanghai Dragons with a 0-26 record. Shanghai, will you ever get a win? I backed you to beat the Mayhem. Come on, guys. I need you to win. Just once. Just not against London, alright? They have a -81 map differential. It's a rip on their season playoffs, by the way. They need 16 wins. And then all the other teams to lose all their matches. It's not going to happen. It's mathematically impossible, I believe. So, that's where we're at in terms of this week and standings and all that. Let's have a look at the fixtures. This is where it gets interesting. This is people sealing their playoffs and so on and so forth. Shanghai Dragons taking on the Boston Uprising. Now, if Boston win this one, they are in the playoffs, I believe, mathematically. I think. Yes. Because they wouldn't be able to get 3 losses. Well, they would. But if Boston go unbeaten in the next week, they will guarantee playoffs. Shanghai Dragons taking on the Boston Uprising at midnight on April the 26th. I would expect Boston to win this one. Valiant taking on Houston. This is a big match for the Valiant. They need a bounce back. At 2 AM, I think Valiant will win this one. At 4 AM, you have the Fuel taking on the Mayhem. Who knows? Who knows? I think Mayhem will win it, considering Dallas are now back into roster problems again. Again, if they hadn't have messed around, they probably would have been alright, but hey. Friday the 27th of April, we have the Gladiators, Fisher, taking on the London Spitfire, Gesture. The big tank battle back at midnight. This is an interesting match. I mean, if Spitfire can beat the Valiant, Spitfire can beat the Gladiators. But I'm hesitant to back a Spitfire win. Simply because Spitfire are so unpredictable this stage. Spitfire need to win the rest of their matches, it's as simple as that. And they haven't actually got to face Excel, so they're all winnable matches. I believe they do have to face Sol. I think Sol might be their toughest opponent. But I think they've faced Fusion as well. Yes, they lost to Fusion as well. So, I think Sol are their most tough opponents. Sol and Gladiators. At 2 AM you have the Shock taking on Excelsior. I would not be surprised if Excelsior win this one. And then at 4 AM you have Dynasty taking on Fusion. It could be close, but I think Fusion probably have the win there. On the 28th, Saturday, you have at midnight Fuel taking on Uprising. It should be an easy week for Uprising. Fuel don't look good right now. Boston looking absolutely sensational. It should be a win for Boston. Striker's going off, dudes. Striker's insane. You should see some of the Twitter stuff that Boston have posted. Sticking a Genji and then mid-air killing a Valkyrie Mercy is insane. Anyway, at 2 AM we have the Gladiators taking on the Outlaws. Big game for Gladiators. It's a must-win for Gladiators if they want season playoffs. These sorts of games they have to win, and I think they probably will. At 4 AM you have the Valiant taking on the Mayhem. This should probably be a Valiant win regardless of whether they beat Houston or not. Valiant should beat the Mayhem. At 9 PM we have the Shock taking on Spitfire. This is an interesting one. Shock are a tough team right now. Spitfire on a downturn. I think this heavily depends on whether Spitfire beat Gladiators. If Spitfire beat Gladiators, they beat Shock. If they don't beat Gladiators, they go into the Shock match, and it's very iffy. It could be a 5-mapper. If it goes to 5 maps, it's most likely a win for Shock. The pro tip for London Spitfire right now, just don't allow it to go to 5 maps. Yes, you got lucky against Valiant. The only win they have got, well, the 2 wins they have got on Oasis have both been against Valiant. Don't take it a 5-map Spitfire. At 11 PM, we probably have the game of the week, which will be Seoul Dynasty taking on the New York Excel. Seoul just not looking like the team we thought they'd be. All season, let's be honest. All season they're not looking like the team we expected them to be. I would expect Excelsior to win this one, and at 1 AM on Sunday we have the Shanghai Dragons taking on the Fusion. No surprises here that I am back in a Fusion win. And for Fusion to go 2-0 in the week. Hey, that's surprising, huh? This will be the second to last week of Stage 3. We are really cracking through the season now. Week 5 it could potentially be a dead rubber week, but we don't know. We don't know. There's a lot of teams playing for a lot of stuff. And a lot of pride at stake, and a lot of money at stake, let's be honest. We're getting close to defining who's going to be in those season playoffs. Excelsior are very close to guaranteeing themselves a place in the season playoffs. And then it's going to get very interesting. A mad scramble in Stage 4 for the last playoff spaces, the last 5. All very, very close, all the way down to 7th, maybe 8th, 9th, you could say, Shock included. It's getting interesting, people, but for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.